Tonight, me and Glenn are going to talk about duality. I mean, it's fairly. It can be a simple concept until it reaches the level of spirit, um, energy, spirituality. Then it becomes a debated topic, and me and Glenn often debate it as to whether or not the dual nature of what it is to be human is real. Well, so essentially, anybody who's spiritual has heard the saying, "We're spiritual beings having a human experience," meaning we're just inhabiting this body for a short period of time, then we're going to move on to whatever's next. Having whatever you want to call it in your tradition, that's what it is. And I believe that's true. I'm from the consciousness first school of thought, where consciousness is everything, and everything derived from consciousness, not matter first, and then somehow magically consciousness was evolved through that. But neuroscientists can't figure out where consciousness comes from. With all the advanced technology that we have and knowledge that we have, it still remains the hard problem. So duality is the state that, in my opinion, because I want to get Glenn on here. I want to talk too much, and in my opinion, duality is inherent in the human condition. So even if you don't believe in spirit, right? If you're somebody of physics, I can speak physics too. So if you're somebody who believes the Big Bang is the origin of all things, well, that's great. Yeah, at one point we were still all one. I don't think we can deny that we share an origin. That might be Glenn right there. Oh, yeah, that's Glenn. I think he's coming on now. But so we share. There's a oneness to us, even if you're from the school of thought that says, well, matter first. But even if that's true, if we are truly photons, right? We're traveling at the speed of light when we're not matter. Well, we're still confined in this state, which would make us dual. So that's all matter is. It's slow down light, right? So no matter what, no matter how you look at it, there's a dual nature to us being human, and it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable. The second you come out of the birth canal, if you were spirit going into this realm, it's traumatizing. It's traumatizing because now where either you were traveling as light or this free soul, spirit, whatever, you're now this human being that's confined to five senses. And that's where a lot of human suffering comes. Well, it's where all human suffering comes from. That's where the ego is formed. Ego is identification with the five senses as the absolute truth. In that, we get stuck to ideas. We get attached to ideas of, and this is through our upbringing, through our environment, and it can't be any other way because we're humans. This is what it is. This is the experience. So we're confined to these five senses, and then we start to attach to ideas of the way things should be. When things don't happen the way things we perceive that they should be, then we lose it. We suffer. We suffer. I wasn't supposed to fail that test, right? You have all these people in the background telling that you should, and that you're going to lose if you don't. But we attach to the idea that we should have passed that, and there's people that kill themselves over things like that. So duality. Oh, is this Glenn? Sorry, guys. I think he's having trouble finding me. I'll keep rambling until he gets in here. So anyway, that's what duality is in terms of spirituality. It's that we exist in this dual state. Now, spiritual traditions such as Buddhism, when you meditate, you want to get to the state of no mind. It's non-dual. It's where all of the human experience it evaporates, and you go into this oneness. For any of us that have had psychedelic experiences or near-death experiences, peak experiences, there's this sense you get of knowing that you know everything, right? When we're young, we like to, me anyway, I used to like to fantasize about the questions I'd ask whatever God is when I got there. Oh, okay, I see you, Alexis. I can't find Glenn though. And he says he got the link, but I don't see him. Text me. I'm gonna pause for a second. Hey, now would be a good time to jump in with any questions if anyone has them, because I can actually watch them while I'm waiting for Glenn to get on here. And look up duality too. Look at the concept duality, and it's fascinating to me that when you that we are that, and no matter which way you frame it, we're dual in the while we're confined to our bodies, we're dual, and being dual is traumatizing because you're two things, you're two things trying to exist in this one body. That's Jesus said, I'm in this world, but I'm not of it. And I think that's where a transcendent understanding comes into play, because we understand that this isn't the truth. And Glenn will reiterate that this physical reality is not the truth. It's an iteration of matter that's been slowed down for a brief moment in time, if time is a man-made construct, but that's where we are. And when we start to think about the universe in terms of energy like that, it's that alone, that alone is spiritual. I believe there's something up there. I believe in source. I don't have the ego to say that I can name what that is. I'll call it God for all intents and purposes. I'll call it, I don't care what, I know there's something, right? So, but when you start to think about the entire universe as just being this energy, and that in that space where we're not separate from one another, it's a beautiful thing. I'm gonna kill Glenn's vibes here. I know he's gonna want to. I already know he's gonna want to go back and forth on some of that already. Let me text him. I need to go back to being in a studio. You should just cray. I'm gonna call him. Pause for station identification. Yes, Alexis, I do. I'm gonna send you the link right now. Bear with me. I'm not an animal. Oh, Elephant Man. Or was that Rocky Dennis? That was Elephant Man. Why would I say that about Rocky Dennis? That's a bullshit thing. So, shame on me. All right, we'll be back at this in a minute, you guys. Alexis is gonna pop in, and Glenn will catch up to us. Glenn, I kind of made a joke of it in the intro, but I've never like if anybody has found extra hours in a day, it's him, and he won't share them with anybody. He just does everything. Like I've never seen somebody honor as many commitments as Glenn. Like he's a special kind of character. Maybe he is non-dual. Glenn, are you God? Are you God? All right, here's Alexis. Can you hear me, Alexis?
Yes, I'm just putting my computer up a little bit higher. Give me 1 second.
I feel like I'm tripping right now. I'm having a psychedelic experience on your name, or whatever you call that thing.
No, I am a colorful being. if nothing else. Yay!
There she is.
Here I am.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where Glenn went.
Well, Rev Glenn, I love you.
I can't. I think you're muted.
Let me try again. Can you hear me now?
Hey, anybody else want to hop on too and talk about this? Might as well make it a party.
Can you hear me?
I can't hear you right now, Alexis.
What the?
Oh, you know what? Let me hold on a second. There may be a reason for that, and it may be completely my fault. Yeah, I got you. I can hear you now.
Oh, okay. Well, then let me get back set up. I'm making a vision board. That was what I was doing. So
Yeah, I got a delay in it. Now I got a delay in this. I got problems. Oh, you know what?
what do you want to do?
Hold on, I gotta. Man, I'll fix this. One day I'm just gonna sit here and figure it out.
Hire a producer.
What's going on?
Okay, so then let me get back set up. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
I'm making a vision board.
Oh, are you? I know what I gotta do. I gotta get that Facebook minimized in the background because that's what's the delays back here.
Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you.
I don't know what to say.
Okay, now I think I got rid of the thing, the
Okay.
feedback. So what's going on?
I'm making a vision board for the year. That's so I have things like inclusion. Oh, this is my favorite though. I was playing around on Photoshop because I want to.
Nice.
I'll put
Super Soul, Brene Brown.
yes, and
You threw that in there?
yeah, I put me behind them. Although I wish I could find one with Oprah's arm open so I could have put me up in there, but I'll do that in person.
All right. I got Glenn here. I got to send him a code again.
Oh, okay, good. Oh, this is my favorite though. I was playing around on Photoshop. If you want to switch me back out, that's cool. I just didn't want you out here hanging.
You can hear me though, right? You can hear me fine?
Fine. And I don't hear what you're talking about in the background. I did hear it when you had the other mic.
Oh, you don't? You don't have to keep the Facebook?
I didn't when I streamed, although it took you a long time it's taking you a while to answer my questions, which makes me think it's a lag in my.
So did you hear any of the beginning? I was just rambling on about duality.
I looked it up. I heard you say look it up.
Okay.
I was also.
That's good. That's all that matters.
Okay.
That's all that matters. Just throws me off.
You might want to set it again if.
Yeah, because there's two of us. It's dual. Oh shit.
What I wanted to say about duality is there's also still the third thing, which is the observer of the duality.
Let me see if this is this really us right here? Is this us?
I don't
This
know.
is us now, right?
I never left. I don't know how to answer.
No, I can't hear you. I can't hear you now.
I didn't do anything.
What happened?
I'll try this.
This is a nightmare. Sorry for anyone watching this.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, you know what? Got it.
Got me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yep. There we
Okay.
go. There's only one you now. There's only one me.
Woohoo!
That was stupid.
The world does not need two of either of us.
No. I mean, but it's funny though. It's ironic. It's on duality. What's your take on duality?
I think duality is not so I think duality has a third component.
What's that?
The observer of the duality. So I got a circle. I cut it in half. I got this side, that side, and I'm looking at the circle.
Yeah, and in consciousness studies, that's true though. But the other side of duality is the oneness. Like that's the only reason we're dual is because when we inhabit physical We become matter, but we're really that truth, that oneness, and we return. Oh, there's Glenn. Look at that. Look at that. We're magical. And we return to that oneness. We go back once we're out of this matter. But and Glenn will have some comments on this because me and Glenn debate on this. But that's interesting, that take. See, I've done some deep studies on consciousness. Rupert Spira. Hey, Glenn, we got you.
It finally worked.
Yeah, hey, you should have seen us bumbling around. Well, I'm pulling her into my madness now too. She came on to save it.
The hold up on you.
She's like, let me throw you a life raft real quick.
Alexis, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Rev Glenn. Guess what I'm doing?
What?
Making my vision board for the year.
Oh, so hold it up so I know it's true. Hold it up.
It's true.
Hold it all up. It's not glued down yet, but
Okay, all right.
Hold this up because it's my favorite one. Look what I did.
Ooh, Super Soul.
Look who's doing it.
I photoshopped myself with Oprah and Brene Brown.
You know, Brene Brown, I have every book. She's one of my favorites.
Mine too. I'm gonna be talking to her. Don't you see it?
Yeah, I see.
Get too.
Vulnerability. I'm trying to get her at Oakland. So if I get her at Oakland, I'll make sure you get an invitation.
Please
to work with her.
do.
I will.
Let me set up her green room. That's
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, Glenn, we're just, what prompted this duality thing again, because me and you have conversations on it. They're short, but and sometimes they're, we speak in different terms. But when we were at the round table, it just came in. So my take, and I don't know if it's a take, but I was saying that trauma is a common field that we all exist in, because my belief is that we're inherently dualistic, even though that's not the truth. I believe that the oneness is the truth. I've been there. I'll go back eventually, but that is the truth. But like Christ said, I'm in this world, but I'm not of it. So even if we come from coming from a scientific perspective, if all we are is light energy, we're still slowed down in matter. So that's traumatic, right? There's something there that's preventing us from being what we truly are. So that's the trauma I talk about, just inherently traumatic. But I don't think trauma is bad. I think the fact that we can't process, we don't have the tools, most of us, to process the trauma properly. So I think our job while we're here is to transcend that state of dualism, but you can't do it for any great length of time on this planet. Even monks that are meditating 10 hours a day out in caves in Tibet, they gotta take a piss at some point. You know what I mean? They're going to return to their humanness at some point. And when you know the truth of who you are, it's traumatic, but I don't think in a bad way if you know how to process through it. That's my take.
Why is it? How is it not? How is trauma not in a bad way, if that's the label?
Well, so in Buddhism, we say that pain is necessary, suffering is optional. So the suffering is you perpetuating the pain after the immediate pain has left. So humans do that. We get attached to that pain and then we carry it, and that's the suffering. So from that perspective, everything that takes us away from our oneness is traumatic. But it's a lesson. And if we don't suffer as a result of the trauma, which is PTSD, right? That's suffering. Alcohol.
Me away from my oneness ain't traumatic. I have a whole lot of fun away from my oneness sometimes.
Well, it depends. I mean, what would you say about that, Glenn? Because I know me too. I do too. But the more you get ingrained in that truth, the more you start to recognize, you start to feel the pain of everybody else around you, and it gets a little bumpy.
Well, see, kind of like Alexis is saying, I come from the perspective that there's no pain, there's growth. And when we talk about growth, some people think I'm giving up something to emerge. And most people think that what they are holding on to is safer than the fear of the unknown. And so they will reluctantly stay in a bad state of mind, a bad relationship, a bad job, because it's a level of security.
And that's suffering, though.
Yeah, by choice.
Yes.
By choice. Whereas I've always awoken every day, and my meditation prayer is, walk me to the next stage of my journey. And I trust you to lead me down the right path because of our oneness. And so I think people use the label trauma as a way of putting Band-Aid on their fear of growth.
They can, yeah.
You know, but we're always telling kids, let go of the table, let go of mommy's leg, let go of daddy's leg, and walk.
You can do it. You can do it.
Yeah. Yeah. But some kind of way when we start to age, you know, we forget that philosophy.
Yeah.
So let go and walk forward.
I got some questions. What say either of you about cultural stories as they relate to spiritual systems? So I begin let me give more context. I began to study ATRs. And so there is more than just the oneness in our physical existence.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like sometimes, and at least that's my experience, that's been my meditative experience, that is my lived experience. I commune with my ancestors. So I feel like sometimes we be like, oh, there's only source and then our physical experience, and we negate the fact that all thoughts turn into things, and these cultural stories are lots of people's thoughts and they turn into things somewhere. And so it's like everything is true in some form or fashion. Like what say you about all the stuff in between? Like, so for me, it's like us, all the things in between, and somewhere way up there connected to that string, there's source. And I feel like people be trying to jump from here to way over there without dealing with any of the things in that string.
Deepak had a great metaphor of the yo-yo, God's or source's hand, and then we're the yo-yo, and the yo-yo itself is the experience of individualism, ego, but you're always connected through your soul to source, and you're on this up and down path where you're experiencing those. You're taking these lessons and internalizing them and bringing them back to the earth plane. Eventually you bring them all back to source. But I thought that was a pretty good metaphor for that experience where you
stop at levels in the yo-yo string, or like, you know, because there is a world in between the allness.
Don't you though?
There's few worlds in between the allness and us.
Because I know there's different levels of me. I'm at a higher level than I've ever been, and I guess it'll keep getting that way until I stop. But you know, the frequency continues to elevate. I hope that stays that way. But I know what it was like to be, you know, just down there, kind of dangling around. You can't even walk the dog, you know, just laying down there like a limp yo-yo. And now I'm, you know, I've learned how to climb a little bit, but I keep bringing it back down. And I think that's, you know, and Deepak says that we have this illusion that we're ever disconnected from source. No, you might be dangling down there, but you're not disconnected from source. You're always connected, and you will find your way home eventually.
But you're affected, though, is what I believe. And like you're affected by the stream.
Well, you have to be.
And
that's the experience.
It's the only thing in the physical realm. And people be acting like they don't have to deal with the string. They could just ride throw the yo-yo up the source without even ever attach it, like working with the string.
Well, yeah, that's kind of what we were talking about tonight, wasn't it? A little bit.
What say you, Rev Glenn?
Well, I guess from my perspective, source is within us. And so the whole philosophy of unity, new thought, is that source is within us. And so with that, there are principles and laws. And if you work the principles, you work the laws, they work for you. And you don't see that separation because you understand that the Christ within you is the source.
Yep.
And you are, you know, one with source. And so what Alexis is doing now is really casting a vision. So she begins to program her pathway, which means she's going to program her dreams in that unconscious state. So when she awakens in the conscious, she moves towards that board material. And so once you understand that, it's not magic that she's practicing there. She's actually engaged in in the principle of spirituality.
It's a technology.
She's beginning to block out all perceptions of lack and limitation and lost opportunities of the past, lost relationships of the past. And I think that's what people miss. And so they're still thinking that it's magic. I pray and I wait. I meditate and I wait. And it's not. It's work the principles, work the laws. And every religion, every spiritual movement has pretty much the same principles and laws. But most people don't want to do the work of applying what they're learning. Like in a Sunday message, there's always principles and laws that come out of the Bible or the Quran and other sources, but people don't want to apply those laws and principles. And that's unfortunate because they do. You know, it's just like in the Baptist church. You get aroused with a great sermon for an hour, and then you go outside of the church doors and someone cuts you off and you go right back to the familiar, reaction.
That's the human experience.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be. We're supposed to transcend that. That's our journey.
Yeah.
Rev G.
Mm-hmm.
It was working the principles that led me to I had to heal intergenerational trauma. It wasn't just like affirmations and stuff and setting it wasn't like forgetting the past. I had to acknowledge past that lived in my body that this consciousness didn't live and I was being held back because of all my feelings weren't my feelings. And I'm an intense person, but I'm not as intense except I had ancestors' feelings all up and through here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's not, I feel like this is me expressing now, but I feel like sometimes in New Thought, that part don't get acknowledged. And for me, that part was integral to my growth and evolution. And had I not been practicing ATRs in addition to my Unity Church beliefs, I wouldn't have got there.
But see, I think Unity does address that, and I try to address real life things. And so, I'm giving a message. I'm throwing in real life experiences. Like last Sunday, I talked about, that was January 10th. That's the day that my mother, father, and brother died. And the human side of me wanted to do something grand, but I didn't have the money to do anything grand. And so put her away basically in a cardboard box. But I think what we do in our traumatic situations with family and relationships is that we give away our power to other people and other experiences, and we let them have our power too long. But at a certain point, you're supposed to elevate and say, well, it's still my choice now, the path that I move forward on. And for most people, it takes way too long to move on when it's a family member or a loved one that's involved in that experience.
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about they was gone before I was born.
Yeah, but it lingers in your spirit.
But I didn't know, when you say I hold on too long, I didn't know it was there until I released it.
Yeah.
I wasn't holding it on purpose. Right. I wasn't even trying not to let it go. I didn't know it existed.
Yeah, but at some point you decide I've got to do the work. And that's what makes you special now, is because you're doing the work. Most people never do the work, to discover why they're a certain way. But if you don't have this traditional experience, there's something you sensing that I'm missing. It's like me. I grew up, my parents died so early in life that I've been going through life trying to piecemeal what I'm supposed to do as a man in my, 30s, 40s, 50s, and now approaching 60, real quickly. But I never had that person I can turn to and say, guide me through this. So.
I can relate to that. I was floundering. I wasn't looking for God. I didn't need God. I was all I needed, and everything I could acquire was all that there was. So I just kept going after more things, and then my son came, and and prior to him, I'll never have a kid. I'm not changing no diapers. I can't even believe the way I would slap me. Like the way that I used to talk about everything, you know, and I didn't know I was selfish. I had no idea. It didn't register. But then my son came and I started feeling this weirdness. Like you know, I can only imagine that that's what my father felt. And that's why he was abusive the way he was, because it was such a powerful thing. I didn't know what it was. And I kept having when in 2013, that's when I got the diagnosis, and they explained the patterns of emotional flashbacks. I didn't know that's what was going on. And but it's because I was rattled by this little dude. And I was looking for anything, like any kind of therapy that could just anything. I was searching. I was out there. Let me go to AA. Let me go to NA. I'm not even doing drugs. But I'm gonna go sit with some 12 steppers, and I'm gonna figure. And I couldn't, for the life of me, figure anything out. Anyway, I stumbled onto ketamine psychedelic therapy, and it was the first time that I realized what it was he was giving me, and that was unconditional love. I'd never felt that before. And the instinct was to run, because that was scary as shit. But I don't know what kept me there and grounded him, I guess, you know, the connection that we had. But it was in that moment, I remember having this out of body experience. And my son, I just put him down for a nap, and I was on I was reading 3 books a day on quantum physics, and in quantum physics is what led me into spirituality. It was those 3 things. And I just remember having this out of body experience where I'm looking at myself standing over my son's high chair, and I said in a loving way, "You're an asshole. You need to." It was real loving. It was like you need to. You've been living wrong, and that's where it was left. And I've never been the same. That's the thing that pushed me on the journey, because like I was so controlling that I couldn't meditate. I couldn't sit with myself in a room and meditate, because I would judge myself, be like, "You're an asshole. You can't even meditate. Get the fuck." You know what I mean? Like I would cuss. It was bad. And I was my own worst enemy. And that opened up that neural pathway. And then the real hard work started. I thought, "Oh, come to Jesus. I'll be all right now. I know a bunch of stuff and we're cool." No, you know, then the work started. But that's where the dualism in that, how can you not be dualistic? Like you want to elevate, you want to understand. I think you need to embrace dualism, because it's how can you not be? You're physical, but your truth is it's spiritual. So how do you not experience dualism?
Both of them, Vince.
What do you mean?
You can't use spiritual and physical. You both of them. Like,
right. No, that's why I say you embrace it.
So like, it's not like this. They're both your truth. They both have shadow sides. They both have positive attributes and negative attributes. They both are on their own evolutionary journey.
Well, I don't know if spirit has negative. I mean, I think spirit's good.
On that yo-yo, it does.
I don't know.
Yo-yo, it does not. But remember this: positive, negative, that's opinions, right? Like,
right, yeah. So, well, I get that.
The experiences exist in the yo-yo stream, but they came and got me too, Vince. I had tried Christian Jesus a few times, and it just really wasn't working for me. I tried some Buddhism. I judged myself for not being able to meditate, just like you. And then when I was trying to break my TV addiction, and like master boredom, because I was judging myself, like, how you gonna be grown and can't be bored? So I was just sitting in silence, and then they came and got me too.
Yeah.
But it was, and then you're right, like you had that blissed out experience. You ride that high as long as you can, and then the work starts. And you can't unknow what you know once the work starts, and that's the bullshit.
You can, but you would have to do some serious drinking, drugging. You know, you'd have to get in some kind of compulsion that could kill you eventually to be able to not know what you just learned.
I mean, I lived enough trauma. I ain't trying to create no more. I've been fighting not being a statistic my whole life. I'm not gonna have a spiritual awakening and then be like, "Oh, now I know there's help. Let me just go ahead and smoke this crack." No, I'm not doing that.
Some people do.
But that's that's the average human condition.
Yeah.
And that's why they find themselves in trauma, in turmoil, disappointed with themselves in their life, because they know better, because of the knowledge they have acquired. But every day they fail at applying the knowledge, you know, and that's the path for most humans. And so they do believe in this dualistic approach to life. But like the Bible says, you know, choose, you know, which master can't serve two masters.
No.
You know, and so either you're going to be at a higher level and come here for a human experience, but that human experience, you know, we were already born as spirits and we were reborn with this human side, being here as divine expressions, but we're supposed to be here to be different, to be unique, and to demonstrate.
That's the thing, is that it seems so, even though this is when humans try to conceive God, they all mess it up. You know, somebody was on saying, well, this is God and Jesus and you know, real fanatical religion, which is fine. That I have no problem, but it just blows my mind that that most humans can't conceive of the fourth dimension of space-time, right? So to try to get to a place where there is no, where that was this space-time that you can't conceive at all was conceived in that thing's infancy, whatever that force is, like to try to wrap your brain around that and then try to convey it to another human, you have to use human terms. You don't know anything else, but they'll say we were created in God's image, you know? Like I think a lot of humans try to take source and present it in their image, and it gets that, and then you get stuck in the lie of dualism, right? The physical side, and that's where a lot of people find themselves. You know, I like what you said when we were in that round table. You said, well, you try to find the love in the field of, and I'll say it's a field of trauma. It's got, but I don't mean it in a negative sense. I mean it in, like in the Buddhists say, pain or lessons. That to me, they're lessons. Trauma's lessons. If you don't have the tools to learn those lessons, well, you got to learn that. And I think the lessons that we learn here are so important to that other side. I don't know why, but I can't imagine that this is just a mistake, right? Maybe it is. You know, I mean, I'm a realist, but it doesn't feel like it. And I've had near-death experiences, too many. And I've also done the psychedelic thing, and I have the ability now on occasion, not often, but sometimes I get in that float tank, or I'll meditate, and I'll just go. I'm gone, you know, not for long, but everything collapses, you know, and I know what it's like to sit on the others in that space. I just did ayahuasca for the first time. Did an ayahuasca ceremony just before Thanksgiving, and as a spiritual person that thinks the way we do, and knows that there's a different thing than this. I went there and the everything became a wave particle. Like everything was in a wave particle, and you got to walk around in that space. Now it was the first time, so I'm purging nothing because I don't have anything in my stomach, but it's like this built up trauma that's just coming out, and it was one of the most profound experiences I've ever had in my life, to be able to sit on that side, on the right side of dualism. You know what I mean? To sit and commune with spirit in that way. It was really a beautiful thing. I wish everybody could do it. You know, like kids at 15, go to a retreat, and yes, I'm telling you.
It's not finished developing, not till after 26.
Kid, you don't want to let a kid develop to 26 in this country.
I think we should change the way that the values of it. Well, we should at least start to live the spouse values of this country, or we could just change it and come up with some new ones. But we talk about that on other shows.
Ayahuasca it's not a chemical. All it does is block DMT from breaking down in your body. So what you experience is what you experience, but it's not like LSD where you're putting a chemical in there to alter.
Neurons that fire together, wire together. And this is my personal belief. Prefrontal cortexes ain't finished developing until they're 26. I remember smoking a shit ton of weed when I was a teenager and choosing to stop because I'm like, I'm getting dumber. And that was not the goal. And so like I paused, and then I started back in my late 20s, and that effect did not happen, right? Like it was just like, oh, I don't remember as much stuff. So like, it's not, for me, my opinion on that is I just don't think that it's okay to put psychedelics in a developing brain. Do what you got to do. Not every day. I don't. In ayahuasca, you don't
you're not going to do that more than a couple times in your life. Like DMT, you do that once, you sit in that space, you're like, yep, I'm done. I see that. I got it.
But
And
some people get stuck, Vince.
they do. No, I know.
So like there's negative side effects that do happen when you fuck with people's brains.
Yeah, that's true.
It's my opinion. Don't like they ain't grown. Don't tinker in it. Let God take care of that. God made it.
You know, yeah, I don't.
That's my opinion. You know.
Have you done? Have either of you done DMT or ayahuasca?
Nope.
That type?
So for me, because of the addiction that runs in my family, the like things that take my mind. The only reason I haven't had trouble losing my mind since that experience. Because my mind is my friend and my constant companion and the thing that had me survive in this physical body. So I'm processing that. I be meditating and stuff happen, but it's got to just happen to me. I'm not like going in there to do that because
I had to force it.
I know what I've been through. I'm not scrambling this.
Yeah, I had to force it. And once those neural pathways opened up, I had access. And it's still not second nature. I still get up every day and I have to, like you said, Glenn, I do trust like in the universe, you know, whatever it's supposed to be, it's going to be. People don't realize that's what faith is your ego only wants to be in this other place. Your soul is good. It's going to go where it's flowing wherever it flows. And if you can flow with wherever source is going to take you, then it becomes less bumpy. Don't understand it all the time, but
I don't feel so. I feel like we are co-creators, and I think that when we begin negating that or putting all the power, it's kind of like, oh, it's just going. No, it's okay if we make it okay. What's not okay is a reflection of what's inside of the co-creation in us. All that is not okay is a reflection of our mind. If we don't start dealing with it, or a reflection of the things that flow through us and co-create with the rest of the humans. Because I will say this: it ain't always your singular lived experience. You can't go beyond the collective. Like you ain't gonna mess with the laws of gravity too much and keep your body. You know what I'm saying? Like you get out the body to mess with gravity. But that's because so many people are like involved and have that in their subconscious mind. That's the way it is. You can't supersede that. But it feels very disempowering to be like, oh, it's just everything that is okay. Oh, it's not okay. What am I doing about it?
No, it doesn't mean it's okay. You gotta work. But there's a point of resistance that'll get you stuck, you know. And if you're Viktor Frankl in a concentration camp, there's a certain point where you got to give in. You got to surrender to a certain point and not let them take the rest of your soul, which is what he did. And he created logotherapy. He couldn't get out of that place. He accepted it. I might die. You know what I mean? Like that's the type of like I might. When I walk into a space like that, where I don't know anybody, and like down in Peru, I'm going to Peru and I'm going to sit with shamans and I'm going to do this, and I could die. That I walk into everything saying it could all be over here, and I don't, whatever, you know what I mean? But I don't think that. I really want my life, but I'm not going to get bogged down in the fear of trying to grasp onto something so temporary. You know, if it's my time, it's my time.
I care about living fucked up.
What's that?
If I die, it's not my problem no more. I'm somewhere on the yo-yo string. But living fucked up is what I care about. Like doing that and then not dying and not having the positive benefit and being somewhere vegetative or lost my mind and not have a grasp on things. Like that in between. It's not just like super cool thing or death. It's like being stuck. That is a possibility that's in the middle. And that's that. Just like torture makes me more afraid than death.
But you know, I'll take it.
So what?
If there's a benefit to torture, I'd take. I would. You know, if you had an option, you know, this plays into the dualistic nature. If I had an option to go through what Christ went through, and I knew that it was going to change humanity for the better, put me up there. You know what I mean? In a heartbeat, like without even thinking, because I've thought about it. And I've really contemplated, would I sacrifice like that?
But see, that's what I'm trying to get people to evolve into saying, but actually living that way. Because you say I would change places with Christ, but Christ is saying you don't have to be at that extreme, but I do put you here as a divine expression of me to transcend everything you see in the world. Don't be of the world, transcend the world.
Right.
Others will know that there is a better way. And so that's where Viktor Frankl didn't say, I surrendered to my situation. Viktor Frankl said, I survived those camp experiences because I had a greater vision.
Greater vision, yeah.
That's what he said.
Acceptance, not survive. That was the wrong word. It was acceptance,
Mm-hmm.
which would get blended.
I got a different opinion on that whole crucifixion story.
Yeah, I do too, really.
So Jesus the homie, I'm not meaning no disrespect at all, but the man was a co-creator.
Mm-hmm.
And in like my early spiritual journey, it was like, oh, you gotta show people how unattached to your body you gotta be. And so when I had that, then I was like, I ain't gonna lie, I got into my judging men, like that's a man way of doing it. Oh, let me go die for the cause. And I was like, out of defiance, I'm gonna live for the cause. Mm-hmm. And I gave myself till 85. And so it became a 45-year plan, and I got a whole lot of things to accomplish in that 45 years. Mm-hmm. But crucifixion, we still talk about that story today, and the world's still fucked up. Mm-hmm. Let me make some impact and change. Let me improve this bottom. I'm gonna go hang out with the pimps and prostitutes too. But then, I want to put them in the center called R&R Village.
No, I like that. Because again, even if you use the crucifixion as symbolism, the whole idea is that you're supposed to be able to transcend whatever you see in the human.
Right.
And so what people are driven so much by are the Joneses. What they have, what they do, what they experience. I buy into it. This is awful. This is terrible. And I just don't get caught up in that, Like this whole, capital thing and the election thing. I don't get caught up in that because at the end of the day, it doesn't control what I do with my 24 hours a day.
No.
And so I wake up, I have a pattern because I have a vision, for myself. And so I know if I move down that path of my own uniqueness, then I'm going to do things greater than most people because they're so fixated on having the permission, the approval or others, or they wear labels too long and they let them limit themselves. As an African-American male, a bigger male in particular, if I had bought into my neighborhood chatter that they're never going to allow you to do this or that, or there's a glass ceiling, I wouldn't be out here every day believing that I can do more, achieve more, and be more. And so I just don't wear those labels. I hear about the labels, but if I sense that I'm wearing a label, I rip it off. And so I guess for a lot of people, in this summer, a lot of this came up where people were bringing up labels. But what was, to me, curious is that a lot of people who are moving forward with their life, they didn't get caught up in that inertia of, limitations based on race or gender, ethnicity, sexual orientation. You just don't allow that to happen. And so my thing is, once somebody has labeled you something, when do you transcend that? Like the PTSD, do you ever plan to be healed from that, or is that always going to be your identifier?
It's a pattern. It's a pattern I have to recognize, or I know what the consequences are if I don't recognize it. It's a real thing that I didn't control. It was automated, and still is to a certain. I control it now to the point where I feel the visceral response. I had zero control of that. And that gave me the ability to give myself grace, because once I understood the mechanisms. And I understand that most human beings are trapped in some form of trauma pattern. It helps me deal with other people better because I can give grace because I know how confined I was. I had zero say whatsoever until I had some say, and it took trauma that damn near killed me on multiple occasions to be able to even care. I told you what happened with my son. That was coincidence, and that was a beautiful thing, but I was damn near trying to kill myself so I could feel the 3 days after almost killing myself. I didn't really want to die. I had more of an invincibility complex. It was a fight. You ain't gonna kill me. You know what I'm like, real egotistical, stupid. But I still have to know that we have to be aware. That's what mindfulness is. You got to be aware of there's patterns that exist outside of us too that we got to be mindful of, and we can't let them infect us. I can't let that pattern infect me. So if I take it's not like I think about it every day, but I've trained myself to where when it hits, I know, I ask the question, I step out, Mm-hmm. So I'm not controlled by it at all, but I have to pay attention,
Question, bro. This response to both of those, but Rev G, what you just said was like, when, if you don't accept the label, what about people who are consistently like, so Vince got out of his, had period of time out of the source of his PTSD, lived a life with it, the effects and all of that, but it wasn't until he felt something inside different that let him know that there was something different that exists.
Other possibilities.
The label, right? And so to me, metaphysicians, if everybody manifested and everybody not conscious, the way that the efficient use to elevate humanity, the way that we should do it is to elevate the bottom, because they're reflecting the part of like our world to us as well. We co-create all of us together. So elevating the bottom is how we move the top forward, because the top doesn't have these things. They're just going, they're doing their thing. But the people at the bottom, they sleep and all their energy is spent on survival. Anybody got time to meditate when they're working 3 or 4 jobs and doing all of that stuff? And I've lived it, right? Like I just had to be like, but I was at a place where Rev G, I was cool if I ended up living under a bridge. But that was depression, not a choice. It was like the bridge, and then I had this suicide plan of like, distance myself enough from people so they don't care. And then I'll be like, then it's time. And then they came and got me first. You know what I'm saying? So like, but that don't happen to everybody.
No, it doesn't.
So what about them? It's not just, I'm sorry, I'm a little triggered, I suppose, now that I hear myself keep going. But it's that story of like, just, change the label. I get it. I understand it logically. I even understand it in application. But everybody ain't got that. And yet they still being thrown into the meat grinder, and we just sitting around watching.
And
all is well and in divine order. That's not a dig at you. It's just that's what's in my head because I've listened to you often.
But everybody doesn't want to accept the truth about themselves, about the universe, about this thing, they call God, the Almighty Spirit.
They don't have an opportunity to know a truth to accept.
Well, I think they don't want to go deeper in the lessons and learn them and apply them. I think that's what I see about school. A lot of people show up for school, whether it's kindergarten, elementary, middle school, high school, but they don't learn the lessons and apply the lessons. And so what we have is a lot of people who have this lack of knowledge because they engage in a lack of learning, applying themselves. And so I don't let people escape easily, in my personal life and, beyond the ministry.
Had kids though, Rev G. Them people had kids, and then them kids didn't know nothing.
Yeah.
But what the parents showed them.
But the opportunity to be there and to buy into the notion that what you're learning is helping you grow. And I think what we don't do, like we used to do, is force people to go to school and learn, and not let them have excuses. And so a lot of people, when you actually study people and demographics, a lot of people that are in that, what we call, that low income area, you have to look at patterns of behavior and family structure and say, okay, how do you break family dynamics? Do we really want to break those family dynamics? And so we'd rather throw things at people as things that help them survive a day or a week, but not long-term have success and change their lives.
Yeah, not wellness.
I hear what you're saying.
Burn our village.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, Alexis, loud and clear, but we bought into that notion that people have limitations on them. And I'm not gonna buy that, because my roots are very deep, low income. My parents died at an early age and all those things. I was a fat kid, and ended up, winning physique contests and all that, but it was when I applied principles. And so that's the thing about it. Do we apply what we learn? And then do we challenge ourselves to learn at a higher level? Because if you get caught in that rat race, like most people thinking, okay, let me work 2-3 jobs, but then how are you using that money becomes the issue,
I get what Alexis is saying though, because there comes when you're traumatized. Like I know for a fact that, I lived in a state of fight or flight. I know I only know this because 2020, the peripheral is, I know because I can look back, but it was immediate. Everything was life or death. So I never got the chance to get, there were things that I knew better and I wanted to be better. And I really, and I was weird because I really was an overachiever, but I acted like, acted like my environment too. Like I was like two people, like consistently. And I would go from one to the other. And I didn't know what the hell, why. I didn't know why that was happening. But what I know for a fact is when you get stuck down here and you don't get into your neocortex, you don't have access to that stuff. That stuff that makes you human, the stuff you've learned, the stuff you aspire to be. And I would always say, why can't I just get it right? I know all this stuff, and it's true. I wasn't applying it. I didn't know I should, I heard it, but for the life of me, I couldn't register it. Like I knew it. Like I knew it. And I teetered the fence and I was scared. I was scared to let go of what was on this side of the fence. The side that I had, all the pain and like it had become so comfortable to almost die all the time, like to be in those situations that I was afraid to leave it. So when I learned this, I teetered the fence, and it was only like 5-6 years ago that I said, I'm off the fence. I'm done. Like I'm going to die. I'm going to fall off the fence one direction or the other, and I'm done. And I got off, but it took that long, and it took a lot of special things happening, like, and maybe I manifest those things into my life because but I can't make sense of why I'm here right now. But it's, what about the people who don't get that? Like my dad would beat the shit out of me and my mom. And my mom would pull me to the side. He would tell me, you ain't going to be shit. You ain't ever going to be shit just like me. I didn't even know what that meant, but it's there. You know what I mean? My mom would pull me to the side. She didn't want to get her ass beat. So she'd pull me to the side and she'd say, you can be whatever you want to be. You can go to college. We didn't have lights on. They're all that whole story, block cheese and the digging out of drop boxes for school clothes. So like but if I didn't have my mom pulling me to the side, whispering, going, hey, you can be whatever. What then? What about the people that don't have that? How do we reach them? Because they're stuck on the wrong side of dualism. You'll admit that there's dualism, right? But it's
I believe there's dualism.
Yeah, it's just not.
I just don't believe in dualism. I believe we have choices, and we can either pull with a greater force or we can pull with the human element. And so when we buy into that, it's just like when I was coming out, I knew being in a gang was wrong. I knew beating up people because it's what the gang was doing was wrong, but I did it anyway because I value groupthink and group belonging more so than what was right. And it took a while for me to realize, okay, I got to pull away from this. And it's just like when I was fat, the whole idea of eating soul food all the time, which I know was not healthy. At some point I had to say, yeah, it tastes good, but I have a greater perspective of how I want to look and feel. And so I stopped eating that way. And it's the same thing. Stop feeding yourself with that same old food. I can't hear you.
So, Rev Glenn, what I hear, so I've been teaching a whole lot about systemic oppression, and so I have those patterns very fresh in my mind. But what I just heard you say was pull yourself up by your spiritual bootstraps.
And I would, that's part of it. Part of it because in those Black communities, there are a church on every corner. There's always, the thing about our neighborhood, Alexis, there's always a church and a liquor store on the corner.
But if I don't like
areas, and so it's like, okay,
have to do with me.
Huh?
If everybody ain't Christian.
No.
So most of them churches is Christian.
Well, they or something like that. They believe in a higher being,
But
and we attend those.
So I taught adult literacy for 3 years. And what about people whose brain? So and that made me study a whole lot of different stuff. And when you grow up in poverty, it limits, and you said it's your choices, but it literally limits your ability to develop so if you don't have choices growing up, the less choices you have, the less you have the ability to link cause and effect. And so the ability to make a good choice is a skill set that people don't have because of the environment and generational environments that don't let that thrive, and trauma and things that are unhealed and all the chemical things that affect the development of bodies. What about them?
Well, I guess I would say the stick in the carrot for me was realizing people go to prison for doing things wrong, doing illegal things. And so I decided I didn't want to go that route because I dread the thought of being locked in a cage.
I'm not asking about you. I'm asking about people who not like you.
Well, no, they make decisions.
But what if they don't have the ability to make decisions? People's brains are not equivalent to yours. Like, and I'm not saying that doesn't mean that they're not, you know what I'm saying? Like, people have cognitive effects of life.
So are you saying they have a mental illness?
No, I'm
Or are
saying
you talking about the average person who decides they have 24 hours in a day and they have the capacity to decide how I'm going to use those 24 hours a day, whether I'm going to get up, read a book, or watch TV, engage in other.
them the same people. PTSD. I mean, I got complex PTSD. He got PTSD. That's a mental illness. Like, they're both of them. Rev G, which would you say? I'm talking about all of them, all the people.
Yeah, but part of the therapy.
I'm talking about them too.
Now I'm a therapist too.
Yes.
And so good therapists realize that I don't aid and abet labels. I don't just give somebody a diagnosis and let them stay there. The idea is to help the person progress along so they move out of that. And so what I'm seeing as a practice now in the field and in larger society is that it's a badge now to say that I have this and I can just keep it on me forever. And it's a alibi for anything that I do or don't do.
There's a victim culture out there.
Yeah, there is. And so I think that's
what I'm talking about.
Well, but it's one and the same because it leads to.
It's not one and the same.
It is because you
I
still
feel like
have
that exists and what I'm talking about exists. It's not one and the same. They are two separate things.
Well, it is because you're saying that you have been diagnosed with something, yet you're taking steps to move away from that. Just like that vision board you're doing now. There's a part of you that believes, like you said before a couple minutes ago, that I have the power to co-create my experiences. And so I take the time to meticulously put together a vision board that's going to guide my thinking and my behavior for this year. If you didn't believe in that, you wouldn't be doing that.
Yes, but Rev G, I had a whole last dual presence experience in my living room, and then I had physical reality confirm it days later, and it's been this trippy ride since. Everybody ain't got that.
Well,
if I didn't have that, when I didn't have that, nothing was real, except for the physical 3D and the thing and logic and all of that. So,
but you had a desire. You had a desire to learn though, and you acted upon that desire.
No, I was just trying not to stop judge. Like, why you can't be bored, Alexis? I was judging myself and then not allowing myself to stay in the judgment. It was a side effect. My spiritual awakening was a side effect of being broke, nowhere to go, and I had been dechemicalizing because if I couldn't afford to buy things, I could make them, and so I had a whole lot of natural products around, and I stopped eating meat because meat was expensive. It was an accident.
Well, Glenn didn't want to go to prison.
And
but what I'm saying though is, I ain't trying to. I'm a naturally curious person and I'm smarter than a lot of people. So I make good choices and I've been taught to make good choices. But I also know to whom much is given, much is required. And I'm not giving people excuses, but I also see that it ain't just on them. And I feel like, so where I have trouble is that because of victim culture, when I needed help, I couldn't get it because people telling me I'm being in the victim state and no, shit's just fucked up. And don't make the excuses. No, you're just an asshole. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, like that. Where is this compassion people speak of?
Right.
If you give me some help, like my business coach, she let me in her program, and I've been up and running ever since. Somebody invested into me, and I was able to produce something from it. But had it not been for that, didn't nobody give a fuck.
Well, that's where this we're talking to dualism
now
and Christ.
I'm begging people to help me find a job. Did nobody care?
Yeah.
So Christ said, "I'm in this world, not of it."
And it wasn't no victims. I wanted to work.
He's on the. So when once we we're not fully transcended, but if we have the blessing of moving up, and our experience is now upward, and then we come back down. When we come back down as that yo-yo, we have to be there for the people that are stuck. You know, I think that's what this is. That's all I can make of it, is that when we you know, we recognize, okay, I've had that meditative experience. I've had that near-death experience. My life will never be the same. This is the truth. It's more true than anything I've ever experienced in this physical realm. I got to go be there for people because I know the truth now. Because I know the truth, I have to stand, you know, and that's when we talk about the, you know, having these difficult conversations as a white man, who knows damn well that I could merge in with the patriarchy. I didn't even know what that was back then. I was just living life. But you got to now it's like, okay, step out and you got to put yourself on Front Street, and take some lumps, because there's other people won't, and nobody will ever heal if you don't. So I think that's what I just had kind of an epiphany with this whole yo-yo metaphor and this dualism, and what it was Christ was doing. You know, no, you don't have to go die on a cross, but you got to do work.
Right.
You got to do work. When you
now you cooking with gas.
See, I say you still have to work.
I agree with that. I just don't agree with calling everything that everybody say an excuse and saying it's victim culture. I feel hella gaslighted.
See, I never call it a victim. I say, again, you're moving towards enlightenment. But every time you gather knowledge, you're supposed to apply that knowledge. And that's why I don't see people moving on the knowledge that they acquire.
That sounds like a judgment.
People will, well, no, it's a reality. When you do assessment of people and say, why are you in the same situation now as you were 10 years ago?
Because they don't know better. And I'm not talking about the opportunity
what if they
better.
Well,
some do.
If you
they don't understand better. Like we didn't know till we knew.
Yeah, but Alexis, I know.
Let us know.
I know so many people who read feverishly, who go to every workshop, taking all this knowledge, and they don't apply it. And so their life is the same. And that's why I see some kind of way we don't push people to where they want to be. It's not pushing them where I want them to be or you want them to be, but where they want to be. And so when we go through the end of the year and people are happy because the end of the year is here, and the new year, I can start anew, and the Christ within me has been reborn. It's like, okay, but what do you want? Because you have to connect with the universe and put it out there. What do I want? And move towards it, not stay where you're at. And that may mean slower steps for some people than others because of resources, but you always have to have movement. That's why we live, is to move.
What do you think about I was talking to Alexis about this a little bit before, and so you say you don't believe in dualism, but how could you not? Because we are spiritual beings having a human experience. Wouldn't that make these two forms? I mean, all dualism is there's two parts to the whole.
But our purpose isn't our purpose.
That's what?
Isn't our purpose to demonstrate that we're spiritual beings having a human experience, but the spirit rules us, not the human side rules us. And the interesting thing about it is, as you age, all the things that you thought were important that consume your time and your mind, all of a sudden become less and less important. Or you're diagnosed with some kind of disease, or illness. All of a sudden, the things that you thought were important are no longer as valuable.
I get that. But even Christ saying, I'm in this world, but I'm not of it, is a recognition of the dualistic nature of this plane. Not the truth. He knows the truth. Or I know I've sat in that space. I genuinely sat in that space. Somebody like Sam Harris would tell me, well, that's the neurochemicals that are, no, that's something different. And that's why you call consciousness the hard problem still. You neuroscientists still can't figure it out. You don't know where it comes from, right? So there's something, and and that's why you have a whole meditation, you know what I mean? But you call yourself, well, he doesn't call himself, but they would say he's the leader of the new atheists, but very spiritual, you know what I mean? On a physical plane type of thing. He doesn't like religion, but right. You call consciousness the hard problem because it doesn't make sense in anything that we do. Nobody who tries to make a logical sense out of life can make sense of consciousness, because it doesn't.
But consciousness is staying aware that we're temporarily here in these bodies, and that's one of the things I struggle with. People who struggle with the idea of death of a loved one or themselves. We're supposed to be here on a temporary basis and then move back to our original form.
I agree with that.
So what's the problem? Why do we spend so much time consumed with the idea of death? Away from the perspective of, we're just here and this is just a vessel to do work. And so if you come from that perspective, which I do every day, is this a temporary experience? And so I might as well accelerate the pace than go slow and be worried all the time.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
My greatest fear is that I'm going to be, 60 or 70 and regret the things that I didn't try.
Yeah, that's why you got to do them. Just do them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I need to preach that to myself because I'm dusting off this book I written long form. I can't sit myself down to type it, in spurts, but there's a block there. I'm doing something to myself.
Why don't you hire somebody to do that?
I think I got to do it myself. I think there's something in my getting on the other end of it that's important to me.
You can edit it. Just hire them to put it in there.
Yeah, no, I think I got to do the work. Like I just think I think I do. I think if I haven't, it's like a business plan. I remember I used to think a business plan was a selling tool. You use it to sell, and I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to bother myself with that. Just let's get this movie done and whatever. And this one, a friend of mine, he's a filmmaker. He's like, you got to do it yourself. That's the only way it's going to work. He's like, because you might get halfway through and realize that your idea is no good. I'm like, and I'm thinking I'm 6 months in and I got to scrap it. No, miss me with that. Like, I just want the movie done. But then I did it, and I did it, and it was hard, but it was the best thing that ever happened to me because that opened up a new neural pathway. I was like, oh man. This is planning. Like, I'm not just trying to sell this thing. I'm trying to really figure out if it'll work. That was a thing for me. It was an epiphany because I was always a street hustler. I could talk my way in and out of anything. And that made me get more pragmatic in the things that I approached in life. And even my relationships became, and I did it to my cousin too. I said, he had this brilliant idea for this hat. And I said, you know what? I mean, I can introduce you to the investors. I think they gobble it up, but you got to do the business plan. I'm not doing it for you. And that was tough love. You know what I mean? But I knew he needed that lesson. Like I needed that lesson. He didn't do the business plan, but because if you're watching, still a good idea.
People told me that too. And then I was like, I'm gonna hire somebody. And guess what? Still doing it. And if I had to do it myself, I would not be doing it. I hired my virtual assistant when I was being laid off from my job because I said this business venture will not work if it requires me to respond to email, if it requires me to write anything, if it requires me to do this. So what did I do? I said, I know what I'm good at, and that's what I'm trying to bring forth. I'm going to get support because I don't have to do it alone. Just like I got a therapist. So all of my business, like right now, I'm profitable. However, every money I get is an investment in some support and care. I got a personal trainer. I got a therapist. I got a spiritual advisor. I got a virtual assistant. I got a brand strategist. I got website support and a project manager and a content creator, like written content.
Why? You got a lot of trust out there that people are going to do you right.
I don't have to. I'm not imperfect because I can't do it. And I will learn on the go like I have. And I've learned some of the stuff I couldn't do, but I had to shut my nervous system down by just putting it in somebody else's hands. It ain't have to be in my hand. Put it in my hand. That's not what I'm good at. I'm going to do what I'm good at.
Collective force. Collective force.
Skills-based leadership.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then this what happened then. So then we had a staff meeting and they was all talking about me like I wasn't there. It was a whole ass restorative experience because it was the first time things were all about me and my vision, and it was supposed to be that way. And I didn't have to turn off like the parts of me that are excited about it or feel too overbearing. And they was like, and what they wanted from me was the same thing I wanted. It was amazing. I think that's your ego talking to you. I really do. I feel like I like the ego do stuff to twist and contort to keep you limited.
So no, my ego tells me you can hustle your way out of that shit. You don't have to do that. That's what my ego tells me that. And I got to do the opposite.
All
for
right.
me. Like that's my growth, is because I hustled my way through life like it was nothing. Nobody never got held accountable. People tried, you know, and it was and I thought it was good, but it was a detriment. That was one of the worst things, that I had that ability, because I didn't know what it was to be accountable, you know, and that translated into inaccountability for myself, not pulling myself up by the bootstraps, because I had all this spiritual knowledge and I wouldn't do anything about it. I thought it should just have, when I sat in that meditation room, I thought I should just be good at it. And what was that really? That wasn't that I was some kind of badass. I was a scared little bitch. I mean, just because I was so scared of being a failure. Like I had that disease of perfectionism, because it wasn't because I'm a perfectionist. That's how I played it. But I was so scared of being ridiculed. And that's what came out in the trauma therapy. It really wasn't the physical abuse. It was when, you know, they got to the stuck point, and it's when my dad had already broken into the house and tried to kill my mom. I ran out the window, and I got the cops called on my dad, and so he's gone, and they get him out of the house. A few months later, he talks his way back into my mom's life, and using the kids, right? I want to take the kids out, blah, blah, blah. My mom's young, you know, she's 20 something. And so it's me, my cousin, and they're both younger, my cousin and my brother. My dad takes us out to go eat without my mom. And that wasn't the plan, right? So we start arguing about where we're going to eat. He drops us off in front of her house. And I don't know what time it was, but it was late. And, you know, I had to kick in the back door, and I laid my brother and my cousin down on the floor, and I put furniture up against the door that I kicked in. And I'm 8 at this time. I can't imagine Vinny like that, like in a million. I don't even know if he'd know what to do with that. And I don't know how I did, but that was the stuck point. Like at that point, my brain, I took on the role of overachiever, right? And when I couldn't be there for everybody all the time, including myself, I would collapse. It was death. It was a pain that I recognize it now, and anguish that was happening every day. Every day I was getting that, because I got this little kid in there making decisions that I don't have access to yet. I got access now, and all that kid wanted was to feel safe. You know what I mean? That part of your brain that blocks yourself up, it's really a defense mechanism. It's there to help you. But once I got out of that environment, I still lived it every day. I would dig heel marks in the carpet of every car that I had, because I was so tense, and I would have calluses on my hands from driving. And I didn't realize it. For the life of me, I couldn't understand. I would yell at people who told me I was angry when, you know, in traffic. Oh, fuck you. I'm not fucking angry.
I'm angry.
Stupid. It's crazy. I didn't know.
I
I look at it now and I'm like, man, I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed about my life. What the hell was I thinking? But yeah, I mean, that's the dualism, right? And you gotta admit that it's there. Like it's a thing. You believe yin and yang, right? There's this ebb and flow. There's, you know, there's got to be one side to be the other.
You be making these declarations, Ben.
It's a day, you know.
You don't have to.
Well, we're here. I mean, we're here. I guess we don't have to be here. We could return to the oneness whenever we chose.
Right.
You know, I don't know what kind of oneness that would be. It'd be a bumpy ride back, but if we chose to go back there, but
the oneness we living in right now.
What's that?
Be the same kind of oneness we living in. We living in oneness on this planet.
Mm-hmm.
We just won't work on ourselves enough to make it look different.
Well, that's true though. We got this illusion of separateness that is really an illusion. When you get to go to that space and you feel the man.
You know, what's amazing is that, you know, the people that we read books, you know, write books and everything, you know, and monks and all those kind of people, we go and stay with them for a period of time and learn from them. They remove the materialism, you know, to almost less form. And we try to say, whoa, they're so enlightened, but we fail to remember they took themselves out of the world as the major guide of their life, as the measuring stick of their success, you know, whereas we don't do that. We're still saying it's based on, you know, whether somebody puts a ring on it, you know, somebody, you know, allows me to make a lot of money, you know, how I look, and all those kind of things that are not going to be important. In a few short years, they're not going to be important. And one of the things that the older people always tell me is that beauty fades. You don't need the kind of money that you thought you needed when you get a certain age. All those kind of things that we place a high value on, and we get into a rat race, get on the hamster wheel for in the treadmill of life. In the 3 short years, we're going to say, wow, if I could just have my health, I'll be satisfied.
It's
And
I
so,
don't-
so I understand that need, that human need, which Maslow talks about. Basic human need is safety. So I definitely understand that. But at some point, we move beyond that child who needs safety and say there really is no safe place if we're really going to live out our lives and emerge as the person that we want. We're going to have to take risks, and we're going to have to lead the person that we are today to emerge into that person that we want to be.
that's when I talk about the cross, it's not literal. It's that my physical life doesn't have the meaning it used to. It doesn't. It's if I can save a child, and I'm like, I know that I would jump in front of, I got to think about these things, because I always want to test, am I speaking, or am I just reading books, or would I live this without a shadow of a doubt? So I'll think about these things, and I think about the worst pain I could ever experience, something bad happening to my kids. Well, who says that's not supposed to happen? Maybe that's a thing that's going to elevate something so that's faith. I got to roll with this, and I got to do things. It's not like I'm going to feed them crap. It's going to give them cancer. You know what I mean? But it could happen. And my attachment to the idea that it shouldn't is going to cause me to suffer. And I'm no good for them if I'm in this idea that no, this is something we got to get through. You know what I mean? That's what the acceptance is to me. And when I say if I was given an option, I would take it. Because we're stopping here. We're here to take this lesson, and then whatever we take to the next place, I don't know what that is. I don't know what that looks. I got an idea of what it looks like, but I'm human. I only know what I know from my mind right now. I can't. It's hard for me to tap into no mind and bring it back here, because there's no mind. I just know I was gone. You know what I mean? When you go into that transcendental space, it's like, oh shit, that felt right, but now I'm back here in this. And that to me, I guess that the point of that is, that's the dualism, is that I got to return to this physical self, which I know is not the absolute truth, and I think ego is when you give over to the 5 senses as the absolute truth. Like you've been bought and sold, and we are, as kids. We are, all of us are. We don't, our parents didn't know look at how evolved we are compared to, our parents. Like just the access of information that we have, the fact that my kids know what meditation is, and it's talked about in school, and we've evolved. We think we haven't. Some people think we haven't, but we see things like we saw at the Capitol. That's our opportunity to rise. It's really what it is. It's like, all right, now you can't be quiet. Now you've been complacent. You're falling into this dualism. You got that house and that car, and you think that's it, but no, it's now's your time to do something. That's what today is to me, and that's how we embrace dualism. My opinion. I'm always I can't, that's just the way I convey it right now. I do think that there's a field, and it's trauma, and I don't think it's a bad thing. And I do think there's love in there, and I think you need to and when you get to your possession, Glenn, you can you got, like, I don't know where you keep your hours, and I don't know what days you got tucked away that we don't know about, because you got some extra ones and you're not telling anyone about them. But when we get to that point, we can give it back, and that's Christ-like. That's all I want. I don't have any goals really, other than I just want to keep being light,
Oh, I gotta go
at that sometimes, more often than not, but not in the way I used to. It's not toxic, but I know it. Like, I know when I didn't get up and type those 20 pages.
I want them to be talking about my name like they talk about Jesus' name.
What's that?
I want them to be talking about my name like they talk about Jesus' name.
Well, I could disappear tomorrow. Like, I'll have these conversations in the back alley somewhere, and I'll feel good about it when I leave that back alley. Nobody has to know. I'm weird like that. I just, and I'll feel like maybe I could have lit something up back there. Maybe not.
But that's the only reason I want them to do that, is because I want to do the things. Right?
Do what things?
I definitely don't want to. I don't want to be infamous for bad. Well, for reasons I think are bad.
I wanted to be.
I want to be but I want to do a lot of things. And and the people who do things like I want to do get their name talked about for generations.
Right.
Like I just want to be in the same company, and we get to co-create. I got a choice.
You do have a choice. And it goes back to Glenn's point. We all have a choice.
Yeah, I got the choice to have. We here to deify ourselves.
So even when
that's the evolution.
Well, even when we don't believe we have a choice, we have a choice, right?
Yeah.
You know, like that, like you said, I know what it is to not be able to get to that choice, not know that it exists when it's right in front of my face. I can look back and be like, man, you missed that. And it was a true miss. Like it wasn't intentional at all. I wanted to get better, but you know, I mean, you know, Kanye caught flack for that. You know, you can't just go talking to people. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even know if he was coming from, I think he had just done DMT, you know what I mean? And he went in there with this spiritual perspective, but didn't know how to convey that. Like, no.
Kanye's an asshole. He don't care about.
Well, he is an asshole.
A lot of the stuff that he says if you take the feeling away, it's got some spiritual logic. But he forgot about the embodiment aspect, right? Like he went and got the knowledge and left it in the ego, and then started talking.
Yeah, he's well, you know, he's lost. Yeah, he's lost.
I mean, you know, mental illness is real though, right?
It is. It is real. I mean, I thought I was pulling myself up by my bootstraps because I got out of poverty, and you know, I was out in Hollywood doing that. I was an iteration of my dad because I wouldn't admit, like, that was, you know, I'll never be like him. So I did a bunch of things on the surface that made it look like I wasn't, you know what I mean? But the more I denied the shadow part, the more I became. And that's really where the PTSD pattern started setting in, because I was conflicted, but I didn't know why I was conflicted. And I you know what I mean? And it was just this back and forth. And for me, it got so extreme that it almost killed me. Like I couldn't make sense of it. I would lock myself in my house for 3 weeks, break my phone, wouldn't let nobody come near me. It was bad. And I would sit there. And remember one time it didn't matter. Like there was all kinds of shit in the house. There was ecstasy. There was ketamine. There was cocaine. There was, like, back in the day, in the Hollywood days. And I would just take it all. And I'd be like, kill me. Didn't kill me. I think I crossed over one time. The shit that I saw, I don't ever want to see again. But that's how bad it was, for no reason. And anybody looking from an outsider's perspective, like, what are you crying about? You know what I mean? Why you doing that? And I don't know. You know what I mean? It's real. It's real. I experienced it, and I wouldn't admit that it was real then. They would tell me, well, maybe it's this. Nah, fuck you. I don't have that. You know what I mean? Like, life's funny, man. Life's funny.
It's funny. I work with a lot of athletes and, you know, entertainers and high profile people as their therapists. And it's amazing how many of those people who are talented in one area, niche area, and it was exploited, or other people exploited them to elevate them to this higher level of their talent, but they never found out who they were.
Yeah.
And by the time they get to me, they're so lost, and that I'm more than this entertainer, I'm more than this athlete, more than this politician, the CEO, and they're crying out to discover who they are, because they know it's more to them than what people know them as. And so that's why, you know, I see there's a high, you know, drug use level, self-medication amongst those highly talented individuals.
It's funny you said that, and I'm not saying I'm highly talented, but I know what that thing is. And
well, you are highly talented, you know. Because again, if you go out to Hollywood and do the things that you do, with so many people who aspire to do what you've done, you're very talented.
I did run from it. I told somebody for the first time that was in the industry too, that the deals that I walked away from because I didn't feel right. I thought I was going to kill myself. And I would have. I knew it. Like, I aspired to kill when I was young. I was like, James Dean, live fast, die young, have a good looking corpse. I wanted to be gone at 25, burn me a legend. You know what I mean? Like that's all I wanted. But I remember we had the premiere for Life Goes On, and I had just walked away from this deal. I said, I'll go make my own movie. You don't want to put me in my movie? I'll go make my own. And I did. And I wrote that business plan. I came back. That was $250,000. So we're at the premiere, and there's there's like 1,200 people there, and there's all kinds of people, red carpet, signing, all that, and I thought that's what I wanted. Like that was everything I was driven towards. And I remember standing on stage, and I'll tell this story to people all the time. I don't tell them that I don't talk about the deals I walked away from, but I was standing on that stage, and I was in a bubble, and there was all those people looking at me. Like I'd never felt so alone in my life. Like it was like crushing, crippling, like just this devastating. I wanted to die. But I had busted my ass to get to that place, and I was like, I can't even do this. I didn't. And that's when those things started. That's when 2004, Life Goes On. That's the first time an episode manifested itself physically. And I didn't know what the hell was going on. Yeah, it's real. It's real, and I think I feel very blessed to have been able to come out on the other side of that. Cause I know a lot of, you said, Glenn, I mean, a lot of them don't, like, look at a guy like Mike Tyson who got his growth done, and he's so lucky to be where he is now, just embracing life. And he's got his little Tyson ranch and doing his toad and spiritual. And, that's an amazing thing. He's lucky.
Yeah. And I met, Kurt Cobain, and he committed suicide. But when I met him, I'm like, wow, here's a kid who's just blowing up, and one of the things he said to me, I didn't sign up for this. I'm like, whoa, he's not even peaked yet.
Yeah.
And he's blowing up. And his thing to me was, I didn't sign up for this, Glenn. Like, wow.
And it got me a little choked, like, because I know that feeling. Yeah. I know that feeling. I know some of those people, and it was I don't know if ever he's a megastar, and I'm not going to say his name, but when I sat with him at this strip bar in Hollywood, it's right after he did one of the biggest movies in history. He hadn't been that yet, but he was in the transition phase, and I still remember that, like I remember right now, his eyes. Like they were like black, like a shark. And he's a good dude, and he's navigated his way through it. But man, there was so much pain out there. I didn't know. That they embraced my dysfunction. Now instead of we just had more money and we were flashy with it, so we could be dysfunctional in public, and they were like, ha, and everybody would laugh about it, and the victims and the abusers were laughing about it with each other. It was insanity.
Yeah, it is.
That's why I said I'm not going back there and raising my kids. I stayed here. I'm like, I'm not doing it.
It goes back to, what's the profit of man or woman to gain the whole world but lose their soul? And it's the soul that we want to express. And when we can't express that soul part of us, we get frustrated. Mm-hmm. And that's why there's so many adults who know that there's something inside of them that's ready to come out and be shared with the world. But they get frustrated because they get caught up in this identity that's very
dualism.
Yeah, well, it's very singular, the identity that they portray to the world. Mm-hmm. And and you ask them how they're doing, and they give you this slogan, "I'm blessed and highly favored, filled with the Holy Ghost," and that's really not what's on the inside. And so again, I think it's who's the master here.
That's got to be figured out.
The spirit has to always be the master that guides you to a higher level of consciousness. And we say that higher level of consciousness, and people think we're talking about, in the sky somewhere. No, it's rising to a higher level of consciousness when you're in the day-to-day, dealing with, human people who are not as enlightened, who are in the darkness. You still have to rise above them and realize that I'm here for a period of time to express who I am. And that person that Alexis is talking about sharing with the world, once it comes to fruition, she will be like Jesus. Jesus said, you can do these things that I and more. He constantly preached that message, that I'm just the tip of the iceberg as to the power that you have to do something great. And so I think, her line of thinking is really consistent with me. Thinking I want people to cry at my funeral. I picture my funeral. I want people to be falling out, crying, because he was so high impact. He made a difference in my life. He was accessible, and he never made himself inaccessible, to people.
I hear that, and I have a few things I want to say, but first I got a question.
Mhm.
How you want them to cry at your funeral if earlier you was like, I don't know why people make such a big deal out of death?
Because it's what the legacy that I left. I want them to say, boy, it was so impactful that it moved me along my life journey. And that's what my whole calling is, in this life, is to help people move along their journey, because I moved along in life's journey and I'm still moving on. And every day I'm saying, well, I don't have to be like that other person who looks and feels a certain way at 57 and 60 years of age. No, I'm going to do better than that. I'm going to live at a higher level. And so spiritually, mentally, physically, financially, I'm not going to fall into that trap that with age you're supposed to deteriorate.
Yeah, no, I don't believe that either. I don't buy it.
But more and more, my peers are talking in conversations, Vince, where, they're talking about what's not working on them. And they say, you know how it is. And I'm like, no, I don't.
Yeah.
No, I don't. Everything's working. Everything's working.
Explain that to me.
Yeah. Because no, I don't know.
Yeah.
So, is that I don't buy into those affirmations, because that's what those are. Those are affirmations that they throw out there. And if you say, yeah, man, I understand, I'm like, oh, no, I'm not buying into that. And so I think, that's what I'm saying, leaving that legacy.
Even when I talk in terms of when I'm talking to physicists over at I was at the conference for consciousness and human evolution, and I'm talking to physicists, and I'm saying entropy is a choice. Like that's my way of saying the same thing you just said. It's all energy. It's all relative. I don't care what language you want to speak in it. We'll talk. You know what I mean? But I believe entropy is a choice to a certain extent. Yeah. But I think there's some subconscious stuff that pushes it along that we don't want it to.
Yeah.
But I think we can catch it if we're aware, if we maintain mindfulness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mindfulness exists in the dual state.
I wanted to say I had some things. So I recognize why I got so mad at the bootstraps thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is a personal thing. I've pulled myself up by my bootstraps so many times. And for all the goals that I have, I could have used that time and energy way better, like to get more done. And I will not agree with you that it was all my choice and reflection, because I co-create with the species.
But you have to be willing to co-create.
And okay.
That's the paradox. That's the paradox of being. That's the human condition.
And most people, again, I'm going to say this. You're going to hear me say this probably in my next message. Is that most people say that they buy into the notion of we're spiritual being having a human experience, and they have a connection to a higher being. Whether you call it God or the Almighty Spirit. But then I'll say, but you need to nurture that relationship, which is part of growth and development. Show me a relationship that grows when you only spend 1 hour with the person or 2 hours a week with a person. No relationship that I'm aware of survives when you say, okay, I got a significant other and I'm going to spend 1 hour a week with them, 2 hours a week with them. How does that grow and become a dominant force or fixture in your life, something that you really love, and you only spend 1 or 2 hours? And most people, when we talk about spirituality, religion, you name it, they spend 1, 2, maybe 3 hours a week, if that. So how does that relationship grow? How does that oneness grow?
It can't. I mean, you got spirituality as your side piece. You know what I mean? That's what
it is.
That's what you're doing. You're taking right back off into the abyss. And I'll be back. I'll be back for some coddling, next week.
Yeah. One night stand.
No, it's not possible.
Yeah. And so I come back and say, God, give me this. Now, okay, I'll see you later.
Yeah.
Keeping my ancestor altar helps make it a part of my daily life.
Mm-hmm.
Like beyond just the meditating and all of that. The reaching to the past and projecting to the future and being present in the day, keeping that altar every day. Like it's a part of, I don't brush my teeth before I light my candles. You know what I'm saying? And it took a while, but now, so what it gave me, keeping my altar, was, I don't know how to, so we got our emotional body, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when I first started, everything, because I'm a child of neglect, everything was like task oriented. Let me make sure I change the water because that's what I'm supposed to do. Gotta do the flowers. Let me make sure I do these things. Just like when I used to take care of myself. Okay, house, check. Bills paid, check. Am I hungry? Eat. But there was no cultivation of joy, no cultivation of connection. So like it took a few years, but then now that I'm connected to my altar, I can feel it. And like when I don't care for it, it is like it's not just I didn't fill up these cups or I didn't get new flowers. Like I feel like I'm doing myself, the them that lives in me. Like I'm not, you know what I'm saying? I'm treating them like this redheaded stepchild. Although I love redheads, but you know what I'm saying? Like it is.
Yeah. No.
It did something for me to have. It gave me somewhere to belong.
Yeah. You use the word there, cultivation. Anything you want, you desire, has to be cultivated. And Vince, you know that from doing a movie, you've got to establish a relationship with that script where it has to become intimate.
You don't leave it. Like that's it. Who was it? The film's the thing. Like, because it's the thing. There's nothing else but that thing. And people don't like that exists outside of that thing, because it's tunnel vision, and it can't carry you through existence, right? But that moment in time, that's that thing, and there's nothing else.
But see, it's that cultivation into that tunnel vision where I believe that there's a path forward and I'm going to take it. And so all the peripheral things, I realize they're designed to be distractions. But there's a spiritual journey that I'm on where I'm always going to realize that duality that we talks about really is a distraction.
It is.
Because there's one way, and I've got to stay conscious of that throughout the day, because there's so many things vying for my attention. So a lot of those things are negative things. People want to take me off the path with their opinions. And one of the things that, I know I have to deal with on a daily basis is that because I'm always in front of people and giving my thoughts and opinion or leadership, people are always looking from the sidelines saying, "Oh, I would do it a different way," or "Oh, he don't know what he's talking about." There's another way, another perspective. And I again, you have to keep moving down that path, because those people who are on the sideline, they're on the sideline for a reason.
Yeah.
It's probably because they didn't want to put in the work to cultivate who I evolve into. And so when Alexa says she wants to be known, then she's got to be willing to put in the time, the energy, and the effort and the resources to cultivate that. And we call it manifesting, And so that's what I enjoy about every day, to challenge myself to evolve into something greater. Because I do believe that passage, and I live by that. You can do greater things than I've done. And so I'm like, that's true. And I'm moving for that. Every day I get excited about that opportunity. Even when I mess up, for a moment, I always say I mess up for a moment, not for a day.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I mess up for a moment, I'm like, okay, get back on the path. Acknowledge that there was a better way of doing it. But I don't beat myself up about it, or pause. It's just like, no, let me learn from this experience and move forward.
I used to beat myself up. That was that toxic shame. There's a difference between saying, "Hey, man, I got to do better next time," and "I'm a piece of shit." There's a difference. There's a big difference between, and that my go-to was "I'm a piece of shit," not intentionally. It was in there. It was in there, and that's what I was. I was that thing that I just fucked up. That I'm that, and I lived it. And then I couldn't give myself grace. When I started learning, I got on this spiritual high horse where I started neglecting the part of me I was trying to nurture back to life. I did by saying, "Your needs aren't important anymore. Fuck you." You know what I mean? Just get over it. I started doing that to me, and it wasn't healthy. I'd find my way back to the abyss eventually. And then God would slap me in the head, say, "I'm not going to kill you. It's going to be close, but get back out there and do what quit playing games now." That was my relationship.
And that's what we do so many times. We let unhealthy people set our agenda, including our opinion of self, and they're unhealthy. And so we have to begin to recognize that most people are not doing the work to become enlightened. Most people are unhealthy, and I'm not saying unhealthy, I'm talking about, spiritually, mentally, not the physical part. But they will thrust their opinion on you.
Oh yeah.
If you allow, if you allow them that opportunity. And so I've learned over the years that where I want to go is just like Jesus, he was always in a battle, but he kept moving forward, and now his legacy stands forever. It's the most talked about legacy in the history of mankind. But when he was here, he was not a hero.
He's a revolutionary. He's an outcast.
Yeah, he had a very small following, and it wasn't until long after his death that Christianity began to grow. And Christianity, people misunderstand that. It's not a religion. Christianity means I follow Christ.
Consciousness, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's like, I like that about Jesus. Like me, I just had a talk with my kids because I can't, this two-party system shit. I'm not a political guy, but I see the abuse that it causes. So I'm like, you know what? I mean, if I'm going to step out and I'm going to say what I got to say, and it's going to, the people, if it ever gets to those people, they don't like that, they kill those people, but I don't care. And so I sat with my kids and I said, you know what? Different than you. I said, if something were to happen to me, because I'm going to start saying some things and I'm going to start doing it in a more public way. You understand that there's purpose, right? So if something were to happen, I don't ever want you crying at my funeral. You can, but celebrate a life well lived. That's what I said. And I had that talk with them because I think it was Lanice. She's like, the way you're talking, what about the kids? And I was like, I'm going to talk to them. But I don't know if that's going to happen, but I'm prepping. Like if there's a purpose, I think you go to that purpose regardless of the consequence.
Yeah.
I think you have to. What else is life for?
Yeah.
But I have so many things. What if you were like, why do you have to think about the consequence in order to take on the act?
Well, you got to consider everything when you step into a space like that. You got to look at the reality. Could this be accomplished? Absolutely. Could it not be?
I
Sure.
disagree with that because, like, if you already unattached to the fact that you have, like, you're gonna die. So you.
No, I don't know. I don't know. But it's an option that I'm not afraid of.
Well, I get. So what I mean, I don't mean die at the head, like die. Everybody dies, Vince. I mean die like that, everybody dies, not die because you're an activist. But if you already accepted that that's the thing, why do you have to continue to?
It's not the thing. It's a thing.
Okay.
No, it's
So
just a thing.
Is what I'm saying. Like if you already accepted that that's the risk you're willing to take,
Right.
does it have to be an active part of your consciousness still?
It's not an act. It doesn't engulf me every day. It's just a thing that could happen. It's not. I'm not attached to the outcome. I could fail miserably. This could go nowhere. And we got the two-party system, and and it is what it is. But I'm not attached to the outcome. I feel like there's something in there that maybe I can be successful at nudging. And that I have to be realistic with what the possibilities of that thing is, but it might not be that.
I don't think you have to be realistic.
Well, why not? I think you do.
Because of duality, boo. Because you aware, you awake, you can co-create, you not sleep. That's why you don't have.
I think it's more valuable to say
with
that
earthly matters. You work with spirit, and spirit is not limited. So why would you
work with spirit?
Jesus
worked with spirit greater than I ever. Well, let me not say maybe, but Jesus worked with spirit. And we see what, you know what I mean? So Martin Luther King definitely worked with spirit.
Jesus did not live his life thinking about his death. The time
no, he just did what he did.
His death was when he was on the cross. Or maybe the night before, like Judas, like he knew what was going to happen. But it wasn't a thing. The thing was wake up. The death was the result of, hey, the work of.
I don't wake up every day thinking about it. I don't even care about it.
You talk about it a lot. I don't know what you do every day, but I see you. Yeah, and we talk often. And
when you hear me talk, we're here, talking about these things. Yeah. But it's not a thing. I don't care. Like I'm unattached to that as an outcome.
You don't hear me talk about I'm gonna die for the cause because I chose to live for it. So I don't think about my death. That I used to have to say all my people dead. So I used to, not all, but most. I used to think that I'm gonna die young too, and I used to think all of that stuff. But when I decided to live to 85, that was the choice, and I was done with those thoughts. Except when I'm talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how long I'm gonna live, but I don't care. Like, I don't know if that makes sense. Like, I'm not attached. I don't care where it ends.
But see that I'm in there with Alexis because I just don't see limitations, and so it's like, okay, because once I start seeing limitations, my mind starts to cater to those, and it slows me down.
How's death a limitation?
Pattern of disbelief.
Your survival means you don't have limitations. The fact that we having this talk, how many times you said you died and came back?
Now we're in this dual state talking about life being important.
Protecting you, and you hear already a whole ass miracle. Why couldn't you have more?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I don't know how that happens. I don't like that's the thing. I
think you being like, I don't feel like you got enough reverence for the experiences that you had and the specialness thereof. To me, your expectation, you got to get away from this like spirituality mean humble stuff.
That's for you to observe, though. That ain't like that. I don't know that that's for me to observe. I don't know that I could ever see it.
Talent and all this stuff in there, and you like, oh man, I don't want to be what I used to be, and I don't want to be what my daddy said I'm just be spiritual and love my kids, but you got a whole ass world to change, Vince. You ain't got to think about dying.
And that's what I'm talking about doing. Like, you know, if that's my thing, I don't know if it is. Like, I'm you know, I'm
trying to convince other people that they got to be committed enough to die.
You got to stick your neck out there. Like me, I got to stick my neck out there. That's what makes me feel spiritually.
Solution out there. You don't stick your neck out. You put your solution out.
I was trying. Nobody's listening.
Neuro-linguistic programming, my G. You
got
these associations. Like, you could pick other words that mean more higher vibrational things.
I don't think that's bad. I don't think death is bad. So you see, you're getting me wrong because I don't think it's bad.
Humanity, and you got to put your neck out. People who think they putting their neck out, they're like, all they think about is the risk. They get into fear.
No, that's not true.
Pause. Had a courage of your conviction. Remember, inspiration is what moves things. Inspiration and fear.
I'm not caught in that. I'm not in the place where you think I am. Like, death don't mean anything to me. Like, it doesn't mean it. You respond to death in a different way than I do.
It's your consistent opinion.
This ain't important. What we leave is important. You just said you want people talking about you. You know what I mean? So this thing right here, that's not the important thing. It's what we do. It's what we do with it. That's what matters. And we could be here for 2 more days, but as long as we did something with those 2 days, to me, that's what matters. Death ain't we're not dual, right? So what are we even talking about this thing for? Let's get the hell out of here.
So death, Vince, then stop talking about death, period. Be committed enough that if that happened, oh well, you accepted it. You made it.
I'm fine with it. Yeah, I'm cool with it either way.
What you living for?
What am I living for? To be what am I living for? Me to be the light, and I don't know what that means yet. So whatever form that takes, I wake up. That's what I wake up with. Is when I went and did this ayahuasca thing. I said, look, I just want the blocks. If there's blocks, take them away and show me. I want to live according to your will. You know, that's it. I don't know what that is. I don't have the ego. I used to have the ego to think I knew what that is, but I know that as long as I'm making those moves every day to be, I'll gravitate towards what feels light, and whatever feels dark, I move away from. You know, and it changes. You know what I mean? It changes from day to day. But there's something in there that has me. I don't know why, because I'm not an activist. I never wanted to be an activist. They ain't my thing. Like,
activist, you know.
Well, I never saw it. You know.
You know, I had the same talk with another activist, and I'm like, I ain't never know I was an activist. This is the difference. Activists do something about the problems that they see.
Well, I get that. Yeah.
The fact that you want to do something, and then you're saying, I'm gonna do it. Boom, slap the label, activist.
But that's all that matters to me is the doing like that. I don't care about the consequences. You know, and if I talk and if I want to have a talk with my kids just to be like, this could, like, I'm looking at the past. It's like, hey, go there and celebrate. You know, it's to inspire them. Like, you know, if you live a purpose-driven life and don't care about what the possibilities are, just know you did your thing. Because I tell them, I'm like, you got your only responsibility here. Like, I want you to get good grades and whatever, but it's not important. Don't let me catch you being lazy. You don't have to know what you want to do now, but every day what you need to do is illuminate the space you occupy while you got the time to occupy it. That's it. Like, and if you can and that's what I'm doing is I'm like a big kid. Once I got on the other side of that mental illness, then it became about curiosity and exploring and what can I learn today? Like that kind of thing. Like that's what my life is now. It's not, I don't get caught up on these goals and it's just, let me be better than the day before. And it's been working. You know what I mean? I don't know where that leads me. You know, I could be 150, be the first one to live to 150. That's cool. I'll take it, you know,
Or
but
it leads you to be in the general contractor or whatever for R&R Village, right?
you know what's funny is I'm not a general people
do it.
laugh that I have this business and it's successful. I don't know how that happened. I just didn't want to move back to LA and raise my kids. Like, it's funny that I'm actually near any kind of building whatsoever. You know what I mean? Like, that's a laughable thing.
Deal with this basement.
Oh yeah, we'll deal with it. We got your neighbor.
That's what's up. I'm just saying, this basement's been a thorn in my hip for years. You know.
Yeah, I think we're at 11, Glenn. We kept Glenn on until 11.
Oh, it was 11?
Yeah, it was supposed to be an hour.
Okay, well, that's a good conversation.
Yeah,
Well, Glenn, I finished my vision board.
Oh, did you?
you did that though.
Okay, let's see. Inclusion, belonging, will. Oh, I like the soul, grace. I have a wait use for events.
Better?
Yeah, let me see. What's the ease? Oh, ease.
Yeah, I'm tired of doing shit the hard way. I don't have to.
I like that.
I can do a lot of easy things, a lot of hard things the easy way.
I like that. What's at the very bottom?
Huh?
What's at the very bottom?
This right here is right here.
No, the other side.
That says I have many successful and lucrative partnerships.
Ah, okay. I like it. I like the board, the vision board.
Yeah.
She's over there building vision boards. I'm like, is that my kids? I'm afraid to text. I might miss something.
No, I build my vision, but I got things to do, and this is
That's
like,
the
it keeps
way.
me on track, you know.
Where she traveling?
Oh yeah, I got, and it says I have a full schedule of speaking engagements, and guess what else I have now, Rev G?
What?
Somebody to write it first.
Ah, there you go.
I can tell them, like, I can't write, I can speak. You want to understand something and have me all ready to talk to you? I'm your person.
Right.
When I come out with a book, everybody know I did not write it. I told it.
Well, that's the name of the game now.
It is.
I look at these people that put out 4 books a year. I'm like, how do they do that? And then when I behind the scenes, I'm like, okay, they got writers. You know, and that was funny because I've been behind the scenes with Joel Osteen, and TD Jakes in particular have been privy to that. And they're like, no, man, we don't do those. The goal is to put out 4 to 6 books a year, and we got people that do that for us. I'm like, oh, okay. I wonder how do you do all the things you do.
Thinking you have to do every single thing is the problem.
That's right.
It's the hindrance. I got to get this information out. I got to have this knowledge out. So if my name is the name people going to hear it from, this the vision for the book. This what I mean. It's not like it's not going to get approved. When Tracy helped me with the course, we had weekly hours, more than once a week, intensive visioning sessions and like rechecks and approval. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to do the hard part. Not the hard part. It's hard for me and some people. For you, right? It's easy. It's not for me. It's a whole block. It causes tears and upset and trauma response and nothing. My mama used to write my papers. I think I have a writing disability, right? Like when I was looking it up, it's called dysgraphia. I have all the symptoms.
I hate the process. I love the outcome. I hate the process. I can't stand it. But that's neither here nor there. Do you want to take us out, Glenn, on I don't know. I mean, we didn't come to a resolution on whether to do, but I think it was a good conversation for people to pick and choose what they want from it.
Yeah, so too, everybody has their own perspective, and
that's all this is for. This long form conversation. We just chop it up and let people take from it what they will. We ain't trying to push no agenda. It's just conversations. And if we can, somebody out there heard something tonight that's going to benefit them, and that's all that matters.
And I'll be pushing it though. And you let me on here to push it.
Yeah. She I'm like, man, where's Glenn? And I'm having all kinds of technical difficulties. That's my first 5-10 minutes every week because that's what it is. It's COVID. So she pops up. She's like, want me to come in? I'm like, yep.
Yeah, no.
Alexis came in and we started chopping it up.
Yeah,
she dealt with about 10 minutes of technical difficulties too, but that's all right.
I record too, Vince, so I know about those difficulties. They just wasn't on my end.
It's hard in the yard.
I enjoyed the conversation. I learned, so
Me too. You know, that's what it's about, learning.
I definitely.
Yeah, people don't know what it's like to not have an agenda and just sit there and listen. And you know, and there's trauma responses that'll happen in those conversations when they get real tough, like, oh shit, you know what I mean? But if you know that's what it is, you don't have to react to it. You can let it, because there's times where I'll come back, you know, conversations with Alexis. I have to think about it. I have to step out and say, oh shit, maybe a softer approach is the right way because this, and this could happen. But in the moment when you're militant in your stance on taking down this system, you're thinking demand. And, you know, and Alexis comes in with, well, what about ask? No, maybe, you know what I mean? But you can't get to the maybe if you don't have that ability to know that what hit you has nothing to do with the conversation. You're pissed at those people, you know what I mean? And then people bring their trauma into these conversations with therapists and people that are trying to help them, and they don't know they're doing it. Anyway, we ramble on all night, but thanks for coming on. We'll do it again.
All right.
We'll do it again.
Okay.
All right, good night. This is Human Condition, everyone. Drop your comments and your messages, and you got. I wasn't paying attention. Sorry if people had them. We'll get to them. But all right, you guys have a good night.
All right, take care.
Thank you.
All right.